This is a Koda. This is a coder. And this is Koda's roadmap to success. So basically in this session, I think we have what we call trigger stacking going on with Koda. He has a bad canine and it's cracked. And from talking with Becca, my booking coordinator, who used to be a vet assistant, she's like, that's a pretty painful thing. Now the Guardian's been holding off on it because it's not a very cheap surgery to get fixed. But a chronic illness or pain, even if it's a very low pain that's chronic and lasts for a long time, can be psychologically impactful. And I'm pretty sure that that's something that's going on with him. And I think in his case, the change in his behavior is a result of multiple things. Number one, he has the cracked incisor. That happened around the same time that his partner dog basically passed away after sounds like a pretty long ailment or
he had a severe accident.
Okay.
Actually, is what happened.
So, but it was
old.
He was old. 13. So I have a dog that just was 14 yesterday. But that is pretty old for dogs. But that dog was kind of more the leader. And so when that dog left the picture, kind of suddenly, and then he's got this chronic pain, and then now everything kind of, some of the issues that were masked before are now amplified. I don't have a lot of rules. Well, now I feel like the pressure of having to be in charge of things because there's not the other dog taking the lead. I'm also not exercised as much as I probably need to be, and so that's going to amplify things. And then, of course, the tooth thing is going to be a problem as well. And so we have a multitude of things that are going on. Now, he's a big dog and he can be intimidating to people, but once I did the technique that we outlined in the video above, he warmed up to me pretty good. I gave him like 3 or 4 bully sticks and a copious amount of treats. That's fine. We want him to have positive experiences. We don't know necessarily what it is, if he thinks he needs to be protective in the house, if he can be relaxed outside the house. But the whole idea is we want to have guests come into our house and not have to worry about it. So the video above should cover all those things. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to practice at least every other day for the next 2 weeks to have one person come by. The whole idea for this is to really gain some momentum. And if you only do once and then you wait a week and a half and try it again, it's hard to really carry over that momentum, that success. So we want to have I would talk to your neighbors. If we have neighbors that we like that can come by and listen to us, just make, hey, can I buy you a glass of wine and have you come over and help us with our puppy? Get somebody who's confident and familiar with dogs, but again, that will listen. And then just follow the instructions that are in the video above, but set him up for success beforehand. Get him some exercise, do the doggy stairs that we talked about. Take him for a walk, let him run around chasing the laser or the frisbee or whatever in the backyard, and put him in a position to succeed. So that's basically where I'll kind of go to next is the first thing I always ask my clients is how much exercise the dog gets. He really doesn't get a lot because it's been a crappy time of the year. So I talked about using a doggy stairmaster, just tossing a treat to the bottom of the stairs. Remember to use funny command words. Come up with a funny word that means to go down to maybe you call it Brownsville since that's on the border or something like that. And then call him back up and then maybe, I don't know, what's the highest city in Texas or the most northern city in Texas, or whatever you want to call it. And then basically run him up and down with an empty stomach the first time until he won't go down anymore, and then you know exactly what his maximum number is. Then we want to exercise him a couple of times throughout the exercise. Is it still filming?
Yes.
Okay. And now we know what his maximum number is, and then we want to exercise him like 25 to 3/4 of his maximum number, probably anywhere from 3 to 6 times a day. It's best done if it's every couple of hours. And keep that exercise journal. That'll help you discern how often you need to. If he has a barking episode, he freaks out at the UPS man, or whatever it is, write that stuff down as well. And also remember, if he comes up and he's being naughty, that probably is it should be interpreted as his way of saying, I need some more exercise. So again, it shouldn't take you longer than 5-10 minutes to do the stairs, and he's going to come and plop down. So exercise is going to really help. I also talked about, let me see, and if you want to, by the way, if you want to also work on teaching him with the loose leash training, I have a trainer named James who's an Air Force vet, and if you want to have James come by to work with you, and James can either do all the work for you, he's going to come by and show you the first step, then you practice it for a week or two, call James back, he shows you the next step. So if you got to but teaching a dog to walk with a loose leash is really key, and pulling them is not going to be the way to accomplish it. Okay. All right, so for exercise, it will really help. We also talked about flipping the leader-follower dynamic by incorporating a number of rules. So some of the rules that we incorporated were not being allowed in the furniture, because the higher a dog sits, the more rank or status they have, and because he's acting like a guard dog, that's also probably something to be aware of. Also, I'm just watching something on camera. Make sure we're only petting him. She's not doing it now, but make sure we're only petting him when he's in calm, balanced state of mind or doing things that we want. If he's excited and I pet him while he's excited, I'm going to amplify that. Okay, so get the X mats for here and everywhere else in the house that he wants to sit in. So remember, he has to not do these things for a minimum of 30 days, but minimum being the absolute bare minimum, probably longer to 60 or 90 days. And the guardian might get in the fact, I like having the dog on the furniture. Now, we showed how to train a dog to go to the dog bed on command. Have a different dog bed for every room that he hangs out in, and each dog bed should have its own designation or name. And use the same technique that I showed you here. Also should not be licking our plates clean. We shouldn't be giving any people food. He should not be within 7 feet of the table when we're eating. He should not be in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Now, the video above, I talked about kind of teaching him to go to the top of the stairs. We're gonna do the same thing in the kitchen. Go in the kitchen. Let's say this is the kitchen and this is out of the kitchen. So I touch his nose with a treat, throw a treat there, and say out. He's gonna come back, I would toss the second treat, and then I go to the other side of the kitchen and throw a treat out that way. I do this with every doorway in the house. Then the next step is I would stand outside the kitchen and I would throw the treat into the kitchen. And when he goes and looks up, I would say the word kitchen, dining room, basement, bedroom. So now I've created command words, and don't say bedroom for multiple bedrooms, maybe say certain person's name bedroom or come up with a specific name for it. That way I can say, Toledo, and the dog goes to this room. I can say kitchen, it goes over there. I can say hallway, it goes over there. Or out means to leave every room. So any place like around the kitchen table, around the area around here, around in the kitchen, dining room, anywhere that we're gonna want him to leave, we wanna practice that behavior first by just tossing the treat. He goes over there and licks it up and we say the word out, or into the room and we say the word of the name of the room. So let me see, other rules, he likes to jump at the door. So he should have to sit before we let him out the door. Go to the door and say sit once. I say it twice. If the dog knows the command, so I say sit during the command stage, he sat, and then I say sit again during the reward stage. Let's show you one more time. Come. Sit, sit. And so I like to pat it on the chin, remember, because they feel good about themselves, the nose is in the air. So basically, I go to the door and I tell him to sit once. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I walk away, sit down, pull out my phone or a magazine or turn the TV on, ask the assistant to give you a 1-minute timer. After 1 minute, go back to the door. Make sure you're sitting when you're doing this. And then go back to the door, stand up and say sit and command him to sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I walk away for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, and then for 8 minutes. Keep doubling the length of time. So that causes me to stop petting him as soon as he puts his paw on me. And then I start again. I call that light switch on, light switch off. So he does things you don't want, immediately stop. Don't tell him no, don't chastise him, don't correct him. Just stop the engagement of whatever it is that he likes. Or just freeze and become boring. And then as soon as I go to the door and I tell him to sit and he sits, boom, I fly that door open. So after a while, I was like, sitting at the door causes the door to open. Instead of pounding at the door now, he goes and sits at the door as his way of saying, please, can I go outside? And eventually, we can do it both directions, in and out. And if you're ever going up and down stairs or through a doorway, he should go behind you or next to you, never in front of you. Whoever's in front is perceived to be the leader. So if you're going to go down the stairs and he races down the stairs, as soon as he passes you, stop, turn, come back upstairs, and just sit down. You might only make it 1 step or 2 steps, and you get to the bottom of the stairs. Now what are we doing? Where'd you go? Comes back up. Are we not going downstairs? Then you start again. This time maybe you get 2 steps before he runs in front of you. You turn and go back upstairs. So by stopping the instant he does what you don't want, after a while he will stop going in front of you because he realizes that causes you to stop going downstairs. So it's a great way to do it. Now, let me see. Other rules, make sure you're eating something before you feed him. So you eat something, put food in his bowl. He's not allowed to within 7 feet of it. Then I eat something first. He doesn't have to sit or lay down. He's just not allowed to come within 7 feet. Then when he gets done, I use passive training, invite him over. When he takes his first bite of food, I say lasagna or piccata or Parmesan or whatever your name of your favorite dish is, barbecue. And so after a while, after 2 months of saying barbecue every time he takes his first bite of food, barbecue means I eat food. He takes a drink of water, say it agua, or water, or whatever you want to say. And then it just makes it easy if you're on a road trip and you need him to drink water, you can at least communicate what you want. Okay, so those are examples of rules. Also look for ways to delay gratification. Once you get him sitting at the door, message me. I can share a video where I show you how to teach him to stay at the door even though the door is wide open and not go out without an invitation. Another great way to develop self-control. Other things you can do to develop some self-control is teach him to stay. If you go to my website or message me, I can share your videos. I always teach to stay for the 3 Ds. First, for duration, teaching the dog to stay for up to 5 minutes with me right this close. Next, I do for distance. Most people try to do distance and duration at the same time. It makes it harder. So then I start moving one step away. Then eventually I do it with distractions. Here, that's passive training. We're not there yet. And so the more that we help him to practice self-control, I should have dropped a treat there. He went to Houston. That's the dog bed. So I have one ready in case he does it again. Remember, when he goes to the dog bed, then throw the treat after, or just say the word Houston. So we put it in context. Let me see, what was I saying before? Well, I guess we'll talk about petting with the purpose of passive training. So passive training is kind of what I was talking about for the food or the water. So right now he's drinking, I can say, agua. Just say it once within 3 seconds of him starting, and after a while that becomes the command word for it. So passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer you something that you like, an action or behavior, and you mark it and reward it. So when he gets done, if he comes over to me without any intention, he doesn't know I have a treat, I don't call him, I don't give him any signals, he just comes over to me on his own. I'm going to pet him and say the word here, or come, whichever word you want. Every time he sits next to you, pet him and say sit. Every time he lays down, pet him and say crash. Every time he brings you a toy, name all the individual toys. So you're creating a vocabulary this way as well, and it's through association. Passive training, and I also say testify or recognize or reward, means you're missing an opportunity to reward the dog. So right here, come. He wasn't coming. I have a treat in my other hand. He's not pining for it. He can probably smell it's there. But he came to me and I gave him a reward. The more that I reward him for these desired behaviors, now that's a demand for attention. So a good time to talk about petting with purpose. Sit. Sit. So if he tells me what to do and I do it, then I'm validated. Yes, you're in charge of me. And that's part of his big problem is he thinks he's in charge of humans and they don't listen to him, which stresses him out. So instead, when he nudges me, I'm going to give him a counter or tell him to sit. If he's already sitting, I'm going to ask him to down. Up. Do you have a down? Crash. And then I can pet him for as long as I want after he does something to earn it. Now, after a while, he'll start coming in front of you and sitting down to prepay for the attention. When he does that, make sure you do pet him and recognize here, or come or sit or whatever it is. And so after a while, he'll start prepaying for that attention. He's now offering you the desired behaviors to get your attention rather than jumping up at you or barking or whatever it is. Now, I also use the word paycheck for this one. So I just remember when I forgot. So I say paycheck if I suspect someone's petting without a purpose. I come in the room and I see that he's petting the dog and the dog's not standing or not sitting. I say paycheck. He has to stop petting immediately, tell the dog to sit, pet him on the chin and say, David, you missed it. I made the dog sit before he came in the room. That's fine. It's a gentle reminder. We won't realize how often we pet without a purpose. Now I say testify, that's what I started to say before, or recognize or reward or whatever it is, means you missed an opportunity. So if he came up to me and he was standing there and somebody else saw it and they said, David, testify. That means I should be petting the dog for doing something I want. Now that person saw the dog walk up to me, that was 1 second. They said testify, that's 2 seconds. I have 1 second now to start petting the dog. Remember, dogs went through come. Repetition, consistency, and good timing. You have 3 seconds to correct or reward the dog. Now once I ask him to do so, sit. I can pet him sit, and I can pet him as long as I want after this. But at least pet him just 1 second worth of sitting if he pays for it. Otherwise, he can come back to you, nudge you, and scratch at you and paw at you for attention. Avoid practicing the shake for a while because it kind of confuses dogs. And like I said in the other video, make sure that you set him up for success. Before guests come over, exercise him. Get him at least 15 minutes to recover before the guest comes over. And I'd like to have you try to have a guest come over once a day would be ideal, but at least every other day minimum for the next 2 weeks. And after that guest has come a couple times, after a while he's going to be more and more comfortable. That's when you invite another guest to come over. So we want to kind of recreate, and we want to make people come to the door a very slow process that's no longer excitable. So actually, and then if you can see him, we see how his energy changed, his tail's up, and now he's ready to go. So every once in a while, just when you're watching TV and he's not paying attention, he's half asleep. And after a while, he becomes desensitized to that sensation. You do the same thing with the doorbell. If the doorbell was a trigger, that would be actually something I should have mentioned in the video above. I would have a family member outside and drop a treat over here, and as soon as he licks it up, ring the doorbell. And he's going to run down the stairs. When he does, don't say a word. Then call him back up and then drop another treat and then ring the doorbell. Do that about 10 times. but 10, 15 times, maybe 2 or 3 different times during the first or second day. After a while, you can ring the doorbell, and if he comes up here, then drop like 5 treats. So now the doorbell actually causes me to move away from the door, kind of what I was talking about in the video above. But that would be a better way to do it, because the doorbell, I'm sure you get a lot of doorbell ringing,
We do.
and then he charges there. Well, you can teach him to come and sit at the top of the stairs when he hears the doorbell. And that increasing that distance will really help. Is there anything else I forgot to go? Use the escalating consequences to disagree with unwanted actions and behaviors. Koda, remember, the lower you go, the more it's for the dog. And then make him sit. We're gonna ask him to come where I want. I'm gonna raise it over his head. Sit. Let's get you to face the right direction so we can sign off and everybody can see who you are. Come here, buddy. He's such a handsome boy. Sit. This is Koda. Sit. And this is Koda's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.